What's up guys, it's MMA Matt here, and in today's video, we're going to be analyzing the matchup between Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. And this will be the feature fight for UFC 311, which will be happening on January 18th, 2025. And I believe that this event will be taking place in Los Angeles, California. So as usual, this UFC fight analysis will be split into three parts. The first portion of this video, I will be explaining each fighter's unique tendencies and their abilities. And for the second portion of this video, I'm going to be explaining who I think is going to win on paper. Then for the third portion of this video, I will be explaining a sad, unfortunate truth that you must consider when you're analyzing this fight, and also when you consider each fighter's most recent appearance in the octagon as well. Now that we've got the outline of the video out of the way, let's hop into the first portion of this video, starting with Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka is known for his unorthodox and dynamic striking style. His striking style is heavily influenced by his background in karate and Muay Thai. His striking is characterized by fluidity, unpredictability, and willingness to take risks. He is often using wild, looping punches and spinning attacks that keep opponents guessing, and this is what leads to him getting these amazing KOs because he catches his opponents off guard when they least expect it. Jiri Prochazka also excels in the clinch, where he utilizes knees, elbows, and in many instances sweeps to control his opponents and just take over the fight. Jiri Prochazka, he has a very deep bag when it comes to his striking arsenal. And when you combine Jiri Prochazka's dynamic striking combined with his relentless pressure, that's what makes him a formidable opponent when you're fighting him in the cage. His pressure, even though it's not as heavy as fighters like Shavkat Rakhmonov, but when Jiri Prochazka, when he gets into that flow and he gets his opponents like backing up along the cage, that is when he unleashes his most devastating knockouts. For example, he knocked out Dominic Reyes like that. He knocked out Volkan Ozdemir like that. Just when he just gets his opponents along the cage, and then he can just chain together different combinations, different strikes, and when he can just be creative with his striking, keep coming forward and hunt his opponent down. That type of pressure, that is what gets him these highlight reel KOs. When you're looking at him versus a fighter like Jamahal Hill, that is going to be a very dangerous aspect of his game that Jamahal Hill is going to have to learn how to defend very quickly. Prochazka's defense can be a hit or miss as his aggressive style leaves many openings, but his ability to take punches and recover when he's hurt makes him very dangerous in exchanges. His ground game is a little bit less refined than his striking, but he has shown to be competent when he's dabbling in jiu-jitsu and other different martial arts that are based on the ground. For example, Jiri Prochazka submitted Glover Teixeira, who is a very competent jiu-jitsu specialist. However, let's not forget that Glover, he was kind of giving Jiri Prochazka problems on the ground in the beginning portions of that whole entire fight. There was many times where Jiri Prochazka was being controlled and Jiri Prochazka was almost caught into a arm triangle attempt that fortunately he was able to escape from. But overall, Jiri Prochazka performed really good on the ground and showed that he was a competent, well-rounded mixed martial artist in that fight. Now, when we analyze Jamahal Hill's style of fighting, you can see that there is a huge contrast between the two MMA practitioners. Jamahal Hill is a highly technical and well-rounded fighter, and he is known for his clean, precise striking and his sharp technical approach. Honestly, Jamahal Hill, he kind of reminds me of, I don't want to be mean, but he's like a Walmart version of Alex Pereira. They are both very technical in their striking approach, but Jamahal Hill, he kind of lacks the power to impose his striking on his opponents like Alex Pereira does. But they both have a very clean kickboxing style, And obviously Alex Pereira is the better kickboxer between the two athletes. So that is why I kind of say that Jamahal Hill is a Walmart version of Alex Pereira. Not trying to be mean or anything, but that's really just what I've noticed when I watched the tape between the two fighters. But back to the analysis of Jamahal Hill's striking style. Like I was saying, Jamahal Hill is exceptional at managing distance, and he uses a very good jab. He has very powerful straight punches. He also has well-timed kicks to control the pace of his fights. Jamahal Hill has excellent cardio as well, and he's shown that he can keep up a high striking pace for all 5 rounds. And he demonstrated this against Glover Teixeira when he won the belt off of him at UFC 283. Now moving on to the second portion of this video, where I'll be explaining who I think will win when they fight at UFC 311. And I think that Jiri Prochazka wins this matchup on paper. Now, I know that I'm kind of biased when I'm picking Jiri Prochazka's fights because Jiri Prochazka is one of my most favorite fighters in the UFC right now. After all, he is the profile picture for the channel, but I believe that looking at this matchup from a objective standpoint, I believe that Jiri Prochazka, he has the skills to win this fight at UFC 311. Jiri Prochazka, he has the superior striking versatility, and I believe that Jamahal Hill, he hasn't really fought the level of competition in the UFC that Jiri Prochazka has really fought. To be honest, Jamahal Hill's best win outside of Glover Teixeira is like Johnny Walker. And Jiri Prochazka, he has just fought tougher competition when you compare the two fighters' resumes. For example, Jiri Prochazka has shown that he is able to be a technical striker like he did against Alexander Rakic at UFC 300. So I believe that Jamahal Hill, he just has not faced the level of striking that Jiri Prochazka has in his arsenal. Even though Jamahal Hill, he looks technical against people like Johnny Walker, he was able to knock him out. I believe that Jiri Prochazka, he's going to be a whole different animal when they meet at UFC 311. Another reason why I believe that Jiri Prochazka will beat Jamahal Hill at UFC 311 is that Jiri Prochazka, he has the better durability between the two fighters. Jiri Prochazka, he has shown to be able to take more punishment than Jamahal Hill and keep coming forward. And I believe that is going to be a crucial aspect when you're looking at Jiri Prochazka to be the one to pressure Jamahal Hill and break through the technical striking and distance management of Jamahal Hill. And my final reason why I believe that on paper Jiri Prochazka should beat Jamahal Hill is that Jiri Prochazka has a very good clinch game. Jiri Prochazka, he has good dirty boxing in close quarters, and he has a very good striking arsenal in close quarters, and I believe that can lead to him knocking out Jamahal Hill in the clinch or even getting takedowns in the clinch and controlling Jamahal Hill like he did in the very beginning of his first time fighting Alex Pereira. So those are the main reasons why I believe that Jiri Prochazka should on paper defeat Jamahal Hill at UFC 311. Now, moving on to the third portion of this video, I will be talking about the sad truth about this matchup, and this will mainly be pertaining to Jiri Prochazka's career and his most recent fights in the UFC. And the sad truth about this matchup is that Jiri Prochazka, he has a very high chance of getting knocked out and essentially ending his whole career. In the worst case scenario, I can honestly see this turning into a Tony Ferguson type of downfall for Jiri Prochazka, because just like Tony Ferguson, Jiri Prochazka, he relies on his toughness and he relies on his chin and durability. And we all know as MMA fans, that is not a recipe for longevity in the sport of MMA. And the reason why I bring up the Tony Ferguson comparison is because if Jiri Prochazka loses this fight, this will be the start of that type of downfall. This fight right here can be the equivalent of Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje, where Jiri Prochazka just takes too much damage and it just sets his career in free fall because there are a lot of light heavyweight contenders that can knock out Jiri Prochazka. For example, if Jiri loses this fight, he's going to be matched up against people like Carlos Oberg, Nikita Krylov, a lot of light heavyweight killers that his style will just get him knocked out. The way that he fights is very reckless, and I believe that recklessness is going to catch up to him when he's fighting the new generation of light heavyweights that are starting to come up the rankings and take over the division. So, like I was saying, there is a very high chance that Jiri Prochazka gets knocked out in this fight, especially since he is coming off that bad KO loss against Alex Pereira, where he took loads of damage, he got knocked down twice, he got flash KO twice, and that is career-changing damage for a fighter. And when you compare how Jamahal Hill lost to Alex Pereira, yeah, he got knocked out, but Jamahal Hill, he took more time off to let his brain recover from that type of concussive damage. And Jiri Prochazka, he might be jumping into the octagon too soon for his own health. So that is going to be a huge factor in this fight because Alex Pereira, he might have took Jiri Prochazka's chin and his durability. And what might be worse, Alex Pereira might have took Jiri Prochazka's confidence in the cage because Jiri Prochazka, he is best when he is kind of in that flow state, just constantly focusing on offense. But if Jiri Prochazka is constantly worried about getting knocked out, that can render his style ineffective to completely overwhelm Jamahal Hill because he's going to be scared of Jamahal Hill's power and afraid to get knocked out like he did against Alex Pereira. So the sad truth about this matchup is that this could be the end of the career of Jiri Prochazka, and this could spell the end of Jiri Prochazka's stay as a top contender in the light heavyweight division.